A little boy named Daniel was walking down the street one day when he suddenly stumbled upon a large dog. Startled by its unexpected appearance, his first instinct was to shout, "Go away, you silly dog!" The scene was tense, and no one could predict what would happen next. After all, animals can sometimes react in surprising ways. At that moment, Daniel wasn't always afraid of dogs. Quite the opposite, in fact. Since he was young, he had always been fond of dogs. He had his first encounter with one when he was very little, and from that point on, he had grown to love them. As time went on, his parents even decided to get him his own dog, although it didn't turn out quite the way they expected. Daniel's dog was a big Newfoundland named Lucy. She had originally belonged to his grandmother, but when his grandmother could no longer take care of her, Daniel's parents gladly took Lucy in. They were thrilled but also a little uncertain about how she would adjust to a new home. However, once Lucy entered their house, it was as if she had always been there. She became Daniel's best friend, and the two of them spent hours playing together every day. It didn't take long for Daniel's parents to see how perfect the dog was for their son. As time went by, Daniel and Lucy became inseparable. They did everything together. Daniel even asked if Lucy could join him at kindergarten. That's how close they were. But when Daniel turned 4, something unexpected happened. Daniel convinced his parents to go on a hike with Lucy in the forest. It was a beautiful hike at first, but after a while, a loud noise startled Lucy, causing her to bolt off into the woods. Before anyone realized what had happened, she had disappeared. They searched for Lucy everywhere but couldn't find her. Daniel was devastated. When they returned home, he sat outside for hours, calling out for her. Weeks turned into months, and Daniel slowly began to lose hope that Lucy would ever come back. He blamed himself, wondering if maybe things would have turned out differently if his father had been holding the leash instead of him. Then one day, something incredible happened. Daniel was walking home from school when he heard a familiar sound in the distance. It was barking. He paused, wondering if his mind was playing tricks on him. But then he heard it again, clearer this time. He followed the sound, which led him down an alleyway. Without hesitation, Daniel ventured in, and what he found there shocked him. To his amazement, it was Lucy. Daniel rushed to her and hugged her tight, and she licked his face in excitement. However, as he took a closer look, something seemed off. Lucy didn't look quite the same, but Daniel, overcome with joy, brushed it off and decided it was time to take her home. His parents were shocked when he walked in with the dog, but his father said something surprising. "Wait a second, I don't think that's Lucy." It dawned on them that something was different about the dog. She seemed a bit thinner, but they convinced themselves it was just a result of her time spent on the streets. They welcomed the dog back home, but soon, they noticed odd behavior. Lucy began to stare out the window often and even managed to open the back door to sneak outside. At first, Daniel's parents thought she might be hiding in the backyard, but the truth was much stranger. When she escaped, Lucy wasn't just wandering around the neighborhood. She was going back to the forest. A year passed, and Lucy's strange behavior continued. But then tragedy struck. Lucy, already an older dog when Daniel's family had adopted her, passed away at the age of 10. The family was heartbroken, and Daniel, especially, struggled to cope. His best friend was gone for good, and he had no idea how to handle it. For weeks, Daniel would sit in the backyard, reflecting on the memories he had with Lucy. Eventually, he started playing outside again, though he was still clearly grieving. One afternoon, as Daniel kicked a ball around in the front yard, he accidentally kicked it too hard. It bounced off a fence and started rolling down the street. Frustrated, Daniel ran after it, but as he bent down to grab the ball, he heard a low growl. A chill ran down his spine, and the growl shifted into a moan, like the animal was in pain. When Daniel stood up, he froze in place. A massive dog stood before him, one that looked strikingly similar to Lucy. Terrified, Daniel shouted, "Go away, you silly dog," hoping the dog would leave. But to his surprise, the dog didn't move. Instead, it rolled onto its back as if inviting him to pet it. Something about the way it acted felt so familiar to Daniel. Slowly, he crouched down and began to pet the dog. And that's when he saw it. The dog had the same eyes as Lucy, and everything about the dog screamed, "Lucy." His heart skipped a beat, and he realized the impossible might be true. This was his beloved Lucy, back to him. He started crying, overwhelmed with joy. When Daniel brought the dog home, his parents were equally shocked by the resemblance. They wanted to know where the dog had come from, and Daniel explained how he had found her on the street. Despite the striking resemblance, Daniel's parents knew this wasn't the same dog. They put up flyers around the neighborhood, just in case anyone was missing their dog. A week went by without any responses. Meanwhile, Daniel and the dog formed a strong bond. The family decided to take the dog to the vet for a checkup, and after the examination, the vet had something startling to report. The dog was almost identical to Lucy, but they needed to wait for the DNA results to be sure. As the days passed, Daniel's parents and the dog became more and more attached. One day, Daniel convinced his parents to take the dog for a walk in the forest, the same place they hadn't visited since Lucy had disappeared. This time, however, they were extra careful. The dog started pulling on the leash, eager to show them something. After an hour of walking, the dog led them to a tree with a hollow at the base, where there appeared to be a bed of leaves and twigs, almost as if an animal had been living there. Could this have been where Lucy had been all this time? Just as they were trying to figure it out, Daniel's dad's phone rang. It was the vet. When he answered, the doctor revealed the unbelievable news. The dog's DNA matched Lucy's. The dog was Lucy's daughter. It turned out that Lucy must have been pregnant when she ran away, and after she disappeared, her daughter had grown up on her own. The mystery was solved, and Daniel was overjoyed to know he had found not only a new dog but also a part of Lucy. He named her Lucy Jr., in honor of the dog who had brought so much love into his life. As the years went by, Daniel and Lucy Jr. shared countless adventures, playing in the same forest and making new memories. Even though Lucy Jr. had her own unique personality, she always carried a piece of her mother's love for Daniel. Their bond was unbreakable, and it was clear that sometimes miracles do happen when you hold on to hope. This heartwarming story serves as a beautiful reminder of the unyielding loyalty and love of dogs, and how sometimes what seems impossible can still come true. What do you think of this story? How did it make you feel about the incredible journey of Lucy and her daughter? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales.